Jake Paul's favorite.
He's a favorite. Yeah. Well, he's 27 years old, and he's a really good boxer. He's a very good boxer. Like, he's a legitimate professional boxer. He fought Tommy Fury.
I don't not even call it like as a fight.
Right.
It's an event for me.
Probably going to be
Every time.
This guy is a real boxer, so it'll be another opportunity to show that Jake Paul is a real boxer.
Joe Rogan has continued to stand behind Jake Paul, calling him a legitimate boxer and praising how much he's improved, especially after his fight with Tommy Fury. Meanwhile, Canelo Alvarez has been more dismissive, saying Jake's matches feel more like entertainment than serious boxing. Their differing views show how divided people still are about whether Jake truly belongs in professional boxing.
Paul's favorite.
He's a favorite. Yeah. Well, he's 27 years old, and he's a really good boxer. He's a very good boxer. Like, he's a legitimate professional boxer. He fought Tommy Fury, who's also a legitimate professional boxer, a real good one. He's Tyson Fury's younger brother, and he lost a close decision, but it was a good fight, a real good fight against a good fighter. He can fight.
Jake Paul has always wanted recognition from traditional boxing fans and experts. That's why he carefully picks opponents who could help him earn respect. But this fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. may not bring in the huge money he's used to. Many people have lost interest in the novelty of Jake's rise, and unless the fight delivers something special, it might not draw the big audience he hopes for. Hardcore fans may still watch with a legacy and stakes, but the casual crowd seems harder to impress this time around.
I like it. He was a little listless. He can get listless, but he's big. He's schooled in boxing.
It just does nothing for me.
Yeah. It is a challenge, though. It's a legit challenge, right? He's probably
He got his ass whooped. He got his ass whooped by Anderson Silva. Jake's already beat Anderson Silva, so it's like,
if he shows up for the fight, if he's really training, he's fairly tough. How old is he now?
39.
Oh wow.
he's 40.
Oh wow.
I don't think that one's gonna get big numbers. It's just like, all right. It's not
actually
a good next step. It's almost like he's going backwards.
But
now.
wouldn't you say it's a good challenge for him?
No.
He's going to beat him?
Yes. No, it's not a good challenge because he already got his ass whooped by Anderson. You know, it doesn't do much. I guess it keeps Jake active, and it's a boxer.
Yeah.
But the boxing, you're still going to get validation from the boxing community, which is what he wants. It keeps him busy, I guess.
Oscar de la Hoya doesn't think this matchup is just hype. He says Julio is training seriously and plans to make a statement. According to de la Hoya, this will be a much tougher fight than people expect. With Julio's experience and family history in boxing and Jake's loud reputation, there's real tension building. De la Hoya believed Jake could be stepping into his hardest challenge yet, a moment that true boxing fans have been waiting to see. This isn't just about putting on a show anymore. It's about whether Jake can handle a fighter with real credentials.
The expectations,
A lot of
and
pressure,
then, the pressure, and he got involved with drugs and this and that, and he seems like he's doing better and he's doing good. And I've seen him train lately. I've talked to the father, and he says, "Look, if my son shows up to the ring the way I've seen him in the last few months, I think he said like last 6-7 months, he goes, yeah, he's gonna knock out Jake Paul."
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of people would love to watch that and see that. So, don't miss the fight.
Yeah.
June 28th. It's going to be crazy. No, it is. I mean, because Jake Paul actually has, it's not that he has something to prove, but he actually can prove something here. Chavez Jr. went the distance with Canelo, right? In Canelo's prime. And so imagine if Jake Paul knocks out Chavez Jr., then what?
Canelo Alvarez has never seen Jake as a serious boxer. Instead, he gives Jake credit for knowing how to market himself and bring attention to his fights. Canelo has openly said he wouldn't fight Jake in a real competition. Even though fans have speculated about them facing off, Canelo sees Jake mainly as a promoter, not as a real threat in the ring. His respect is for Jake's business sense, not his boxing skills.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul is officially off. Here, I'll get out of the way so you can see the off. But this actually makes sense to me because the owner of Ring Magazine, Turki Al Sheikh, he posted a very cryptic photo on Instagram about an hour ago, and the caption reads, "Don't mess with the lion. 4 fights for Canelo with Riyadh season. The deal is done. A lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinion of a sheep. Fear the lion, not the jungle. And look who the first comment is. Canelo, let's go, brother. This is one of the few times Canelo has publicly been on good terms with Turki Al-Sheikh. But boy, from the Terrence fight being off to now the Jake Paul fight being off, this has been a wild couple of last few days for the face of boxing. Wait, which one of these two is the face of boxing? I'm just kidding, it's Jake Paul, obviously. Just kidding, it's Canelo! But since it looks like Canelo is now under contract with Turki Al-Sheikh, the chances of Canelo ever fighting Jake Paul have lowered significantly. Because no offense to Jake Paul, from what I've heard, Turki Al-Sheikh doesn't want to associate himself with the kind of boxing that Jake Paul does. Any more updates that happen with this, I'll be sure to do my best to fill you in. As always, thanks for watching.
Canelo has faced Julio in the past. Although Julio isn't the same fighter he used to be, having gone through rehab and time away from the sport, Jake sees this as a chance to measure himself against someone with a respected name. While it's important to remember Julio today is far from his peak, Jake hopes that simply sharing the ring with him will boost his own credibility.
Able to fight, and he's taking this far more serious, and he's not struggling with addiction issues like he has for so long in his pro career. This fight does become a little bit of a dangerous one for Jake, not because Chavez Jr. is in his prime anymore. He's still going to be a shell of that early 20s Julio Cesar Chavez. But with 60 wins under his belt, if there is still any of that muscle memory left, there's still any go left in his body, because again, I hate to keep referring to it, doing drugs or having addiction issues does take its toll on your body, and sometimes it isn't recoverable, especially as you're going up in weight. Julio Cesar Chavez, not a normal cruiserweight, so he's going to be moving up as he gets older. How does that entail what he's going to do in this fight? I don't know, but I'll tell you, I watched him ringside against Uriah Hall, and it wasn't an impressive performance when he beat Uriah Hall in a 6-round fight. Honestly, when I watched the fight back, it looked like the only reason he beat Uriah Hall in that fight was because Uriah, like most MMA fighters, when they come to boxing, don't take credence of the rule set, right? They get hit with a ton of shots that don't hurt them, but also they're getting hit with shots that are scoring against them. Uriah Hall didn't look overwhelmed in that fight at all. In fact, he looked like he was in the fight with Chavez Jr. And that in its own right is pretty damning, because while he won the fight, that was Uriah Hall's first boxing match ever. And Uriah was not a young guy at that point either. The point I'm making with all this is I get what Jake is doing here, and fair play to him. Again, you do have to remember Jake didn't have an amateur career.
When asked about fighting Jake Paul, Canelo laughed and joked that maybe he'd consider it when he turns 50. This shows how Louis thinks of Jake as a real contender. To Canelo, the idea of boxing a YouTuber seems ridiculous. His comment also suggests he sees Jake's matchups, often with older or past their prime fighters, as more about grabbing headlines and building a true legacy.
Do you ever entertain a Jake Paul fight?
Not right now. Let's see later when I have like a 50 years old.
Despite his sarcasm, Canelo has hinted he could be open to an exhibition match against Jake after retiring from professional boxing. It wouldn't be a real competitive fight, but would likely draw plenty of attention because of their names. For Jake, even an exhibition with Canelo would be a huge moment. It's another example of how Jake is blending show business with sports in a way that gets people watching, whether they approve or not.
Do you ever do like exhibitions like that, or like people like Jake Paul call you out, or these like other big stars? Like, is that business wise like even worth it?
When I'm done with boxing, why not? Maybe I'll do it. I think it's
like when you're done like competing at the highest level, you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's good because what happened there is other people who never watch boxing, or they don't know anything about boxing, they want to watch Jake Paul because he's coming from he bring fans from other world, right? Yeah. That's good because everybody enjoy it.
Would you ever entertain that idea when you're done?
Maybe.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. represents a threat Jake hasn't faced before. Unlike the MMA fighters and exhibition bouts Jake has taken part in, this fight has real stakes. Julio's punching power, especially his left hook, is still respected. He's not stepping into the ring just for the payday. He wants to prove he still belongs. If Jake makes a mistake, Julio has the skill to end the fight quickly.
It could happen. This dude. I don't trust that guy. I don't trust Chavez.
Yeah.
You're nothing like your daddy.
Yo, you just alienated him. You said, I don't trust that guy.
I don't. It's like, bro, I don't trust you, man. Just we seen too much of that quitting you.
He's got the quirky, the ugly stuff that'll get you by.
Chavez?
Yeah.
He still has a left hook for 2 rounds.
You said 2 rounds?
Yeah,
That's it?
It's fresh for 2 rounds. After that, the problem with Chavez Jr., if Chavez Jr. just showed up and let his balls hang and committed to it and just let his hands go, but even at his best, he didn't let his hands go a whole lot. But if he did, he could win this fight. Yeah. But he won't. Yeah. That's not who he is. He has no confidence anymore. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. The minute he also loses so much steam after 2 rounds. He's kind of like Mike Tyson in a lot of ways. He loses steam after a round and a half. He has a left hook that you still have to it keeps you honest. You do have to worry about that left hook, especially early. Yeah. But like he just has no confidence anymore. The minute things start going south, the minute he gets touched, he just
looking for out. Even
if he's not, I think in this fight he'll like Zab Judah used to do sometimes. He'll take his beating, but he won't let his hands go. And
I'm gonna speak a truth. I think this is my truth, and I'm just speaking candidly. You got a kid that's spoiled.
While some critics dismiss Julio because of his age and time away from the spotlight, he hasn't been inactive for as long as many of Jake's other opponents. He has kept himself in shape and maintained his instincts from years in the sport. Jake might be younger, but Julio's experience and ring awareness make this fight more competitive than it looks on paper.
On the grapevine is that Jake Paul will be fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in his upcoming fight. That is apparently going to be announced very, very soon. Now, this is actually quite an interesting one, really. Jake's going to get a lot of stick for this. It is another retired fighter. However, this is a guy that realistically has only been retired for about 4 years. He also isn't a 60-year-old Mike Tyson. Chavez Jr. is only 39 years old. The last notable fight, realistically, for Chavez Jr. was Danny Jacobs. That was back at the back end of 2019. So you could say that realistically the guy hasn't been fighting top competitors for about 5.5 years or so. The thing that does worry me just a little bit is that Chavez Jr. was pretty much fighting at middleweight during his, let's say, prime. And no doubt that this fight will be at cruiserweight, if not heavyweight. So good on Jake Paul for fighting someone who is semi-recently retired this time, and he's actually a boxer and not an MMA fighter. But again, shame on Jake Paul for fighting someone who is considerably smaller and will likely want them to balloon up to cruiserweight. Maybe even heavyweight if Jake's sticking at this thing of he's a heavyweight now. Let me know in the comments, will you watch this if it's on Netflix and it doesn't cost any more money like the Mike Tyson fight did? Are you interested? Should Jake Paul be taking on more active professional boxers nowadays? You know, not someone who has been retired for 4 or 5 years. I'm interested to know your opinions. Also, will this fight actually get made? Let me know in the comments. As always, like, favourite, save and a share. All appreciated. And if you want to be kept up to date with everything boxing, hit that follow button. Peace out.
Jeff Mayweather, who's known for being fair, thinks Jake is taking a smart risk. He notes that while Julio has a respected past, time and inconsistency could work in Jake's favor. From a strategic angle, beating a former world champion is a valuable move for Jake's career. As with Jake's planned fight against Mike Tyson, some people have called this bout a money grab, suggesting both fighters benefit no matter who wins. There's no proof these fights are staged, but the rumors keep circulating.
You can't make this shit up. Guys, Jake Paul fights this weekend at the same time as UFC 317. And don't be shocked, but it's another scam. This time it's against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who's 39 years old, hasn't fought in a year, and lost a boxing match to Anderson Silva, who's not even a fucking boxer and 50 years old. You guys have to know the drill by now. Take Jake Paul, minus 650, throw him in parlays, take him straight, lay the line, he's not losing. This shit's hilarious. A flat-out joke. A disgrace. But free cash is free cash. I'm not watching a second of this fight. A second. I'm just going to watch my bets, turn green, and get paid out. Do yourself a favor. And get paid out too. Jake Paul, minus 650. Free as the air you breathe.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been clear that he's a lifelong boxer, not an MMA fighter or retired UFC star. He's offended by the comparisons and believes Jake will soon see the difference firsthand. For Julio, this is about showing that real boxing experience still counts. He sees Jake as untested, and this is his chance to prove it. Jake, for his part, is confident this will be a career-defining moment for them both. No other opponent he's faced has had Julio's level of credibility. This fight feels like a turning point. Either Jake proves he belongs or he's exposed. It's a test of skill, endurance, and mental strength. Even though Julio isn't in his prime, he's still a far more serious opponent than anyone Jake has fought before.
It's not going to be me, but I'm training harder than ever. I know this is my toughest opponent yet. Maybe not the biggest name opponent yet, but it's still going to be a super, super good fight. So make sure everyone pull up Anaheim, California, Ticketmaster.com. Be there, baby.
I was going to say that, you know, do you think this is the toughest opponent? Obviously, he's still a guy who was, you know, he's not all that old. He's got a ton of fights. He's got, I think, 61 pro fights. Think this is the toughest challenge for you if you take everything into consideration?
Yeah, taking everything into consideration and how hard he's training behind the scenes, people saying that this is the most serious he's ever taken a fight, and the fact that he's a former world champion, 30-something knockouts, and I think he wants to put Mexico on his back and represent, and he doesn't want to lose to a guy like me because he knows that's going to hurt his legacy that he's built for himself.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jake, if you see video of him, it looks like he's training hard. I think if there's one criticism, obviously, as you know, of his that people have always said is that, hey, he doesn't train hard, doesn't work as hard as he should, but he's a guy with a lot of talent. But if he is working hard and he does still have that talent, obviously, that could make for a dangerous opponent, couldn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I bring out of my opponents. You know, even when I fly sparring partners in, they go harder than they normally do with other guys because they want to prove a point because it's me. They don't want to get beat up by a guy who's only been doing this for 5 years or so. So they always bring their A game, and that's why I'm always at my best as well because I have to bring my A game every time.